Hey guys, Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch, and it's still winter. It's still cold. I just talked with Dennis up in Wyoming yesterday, and he said it's 15 degrees with 12 inches of snow. Wow, uh, that's impressive, young Skywalker. As you know, I like warm weather, and wearing jackets and things it just doesn't suit me really well. So we do a lot of indoor sports. So the the title of this video, painting two elephants. Well, real quickly, the surface area of two elephants is, I would say, just about what a painting a GMC is. So now that I hooked you in, let's get out of that elephant thing because I'm not going to paint an elephant. But there's a difference in painters. There, there's a difference in what painters do. And let's talk about this a second. Now, first in Florida, because the weather is warm, most of the paint booths here are not heated. Okay, whether you know it or not, paints need, with all their VOCs, need to be shot and cured above 65 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. So when that is the situation, and even body filler, things that have materials that in it that leach out and that cure the material, all of that stuff really doesn't like to be in temperatures below 65 degrees. Now, if you're up north, which I have never painted up there, you have heated paint booth, right? I understand that unless you use the proper heat, you could fisheye. Like, you don't want to have just a regular kerosene heater. You'll have fisheye in the paint. So I, I imagine north, unless you have a heated booth, which is kind of a lot of money, which you have to pay for. The guy, in his shop, he has to pay for a heated paint booth, and who pays for that? Well, you will. Okay, I'm not saying you want to look for some place that doesn't have a heated paint booth, but it is an additional expense up north that we would not have here. But down here, a couple of months a year, you really should not paint. Now, we've done it. We brought in some of those jet heaters and we painted, but it's better off not doing it. Okay, so right now is not a good time to paint. Painters that paint a 57 Chevy, okay, those folks know how to paint. They know how to lay out paint smooth. They know how to finish out paint, and things like that. A painter that paints large vehicles, here we go back to the two elephants. A painter that paints large things, like this, is usually going to paint a commercial truck or a bus or something that they say they want it blue or green or yellow or whatever. And what they'll do is a lot of them will wash it with Ajax, scuff up the paint, go around it, scuff it up, bag the windows off, and shoot it. Okay? Why? Because it's a commercial machine. And when you lay paint on a large surface like a billboard, by the time you hit the paint and you start and you get to here and you stop and you go back over here, this paint has already dried. So you're going to be shooting dust. You've got to be able to know how to set your gun and to lay out large swaths of paint where it'll all flow together. All right, that's a trick. And usually the painters that paint large vehicles know how to do that, not the painters that paint a 57 Chevy. But the problem is, if you paint this like you paint a commercial truck, because this thing has lines, has style. It will look like a truck. Because of the part of what you've got here is style. It needs to be addressed like that painter would that would work on the 57 Chevy. Now, that painter is not working by the hour. He's working by his quality. And you got to give the devil his due. He's been through what it takes to do all that kind of stuff. What does that mean to you? That means he's going to be a little bit pricier because he's going to pay attention to all the details. Kind of like when you're building a motor. You don't ever want to put a production built motor in a 12,000 pound projectile. You don't want to do it. The style that motor was built had economy in mind. Okay, specifications weren't looked at as closely as maybe it should. All right, and what happens is anything that is not doing very, very well and really blends together with the motor on one of these will fail. So a production motor is not what you want. You want a custom motor, just like you want custom painter. You want a guy that knows what peculiarities this paint job is going to entail. All right. Those are the folks you want to find, and they're not easy to find. All right, because if you take it to a custom painter, it's going to have a lot of money in it. Because not only is the customer he's used to picking details, that's the reason he does it. Make sense? So how do you get a paint job on two elephants in a quality fashion? Okay, that's your question when you're looking for a painter. Okay, purely by accident, a good friend of mine here recently, Dennis, bumped into these folks. Right now, he broke down on the road near Ocala. So his insurance or whoever is going to tow the service found these folks because they were a business specialized in RVs and would take it. A lot of times they'll say it's a GMC motorhome. A lot of them won't even take it. All right. And also you've got to have it towed right. And if they get to the point they know how to tow it, then they understand peculiarities where it needs to go. And Dennis was sent to these folks right here. All right. I'll put a picture up of this at the bottom of the video. These folks are in Florida, nearby where Dennis broke down. RV Collision of Florida. He had a mechanical breakdown. Now these folks, they specialize in everything of anything that is big. Okay, they specialize in it, but the place that they really dominate happened to be with paint, because his painters, they're from South America. They're very, very familiar with paint work, and they're familiar with getting it done quick, to do it quickly. So Dennis ended up taking the coach and dropping it off to these folks, and then contacted me to go see how things are going. Right? You would love to say that coach is going to come in, all the ants are going to jump on it, going to get it done, and it goes out. It doesn't happen that way. Business won't allow that because it would be too expensive to do it that way. What any business has got to do is work on this. They've got to work on 2 or 3 projects at the same time to get enough volume profit in to do it. If you had a guy, you drove your coach in at a certain date, and he had all his hands stop work and go work on yours, that's going to be a very expensive job, because you're going to have to pay for all those guys the entire time, his overhead, everything. It doesn't happen that way. So you have to realize that. And when you go to a paint shop, They're working on a lot of stuff. All right. You'd love to say that you're the only one in there and you're the only one they care about, but they're working on a lot of different things. Okay. So you're in their program, and you're going to hopefully pop out the other side, right? And that is the problem. That's where the failure happens. Either the person gets too busy for the amount of people they have or the amount of time they have to do it, uh, uh, or they just don't do quality work. There's a lot of reasons that it doesn't work out. But if you go into a paint job as partners with these guys, understand what their problems are, okay? Understand where they're going and what they need to do and work with them. One of the things that Dennis, we both agree was a positive thing, is these guys were only a really nice 1 hour's drive from Orlando. So I was able to go over there and see those folks, talk about questions, guide them a little bit, know that somebody is kind of saying, hey, how you doing, man, rubbing your shoulders and stuff. And it helps them a little bit. You know, you say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, you know, you say, oh, that's terrible. Well, in some ways, if somebody's there all the time asking, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help? Is there something you got a question on? It kind of helps them and pushes them along. So my suggestion, if you're going to get a paint job done, find a spot that you could go and see them every once in a while. You say, wow, man, that's intimidating. Well, you don't have to be. You don't need to go in there and say, what are you doing? Oh, no, you can go be their friend. You can work together with the program, and it helps them. In Dennis's case, he lived in Wyoming, and the place is in Orlando. So I went in his stead to help these guys, and it really worked, okay? Because what they ended up with was a very, very nice finish. A couple of things that could have made it better. There's always better, okay? Remember, their job, their business is not just GMCs. Their business is all kinds of motorhomes, okay? So if you can set your motorhome up where it's as close to the same systems and the same things they do to work on this as they're going to work on yours, that'll help them a lot because they don't have to have any discovery on, oh, we've not done that before. How do we do that? I don't know. See, that's the time factor. If you go to a painter and you ask him, would you like me to break down some of the basic stuff and to get it apart so you can do your paint finish? Because what you're interested in doing with those guys is the work that they do day in and day out and they get good at. You don't want to pay them to learn new stuff. Make sense? Not problems, but the times that I was able to help Armando were on the unique things like how to trim out the doors and a whole bunch of questions, hinges, and putting the lights on, and don't pull the wires and all that kind of stuff. Well, see, those are the things that they needed help with because they had not done that before, and that took a little bit more time. So if you go into the thing and you explain to the gentleman that you are willing to not have them worry about the things that they have not done before, and what you're interested in with them is the work that they do on a day in and day out basis on your vehicle. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you want to do it yourself and drive it there with wires sticking out and whatever, but cleaning the surfaces, getting rid of body side molding, lights, things like that. Those are things that they haven't done before, and it would probably, my guess is, that they would be happy to let you do those things. Because that helps them to move on, get that job done, get through it, and get to the next one. And if they're doing things that they do day in and day out, laying on stripes, uh, putting quality paint finishes on, uh, uh, fixing fiberglass, things like that. Those are the things they know how to do, or they should know, and you can pay them to do those things, and that's where you'll save the most amount of money. Does that make sense? At co-op, because we only did GMCs, we would do soup to nuts on an exterior finish. Why? Because we did have those materials, we did know how to do it, and we were the place that could probably do it in a quicker fashion than anybody else. But there are no, to my knowledge, it's very hard to find a painter that had the background specifically of the GMC that you need to do a complete job. So rather than getting frustrated and trying to find, oh man, they messed up those lights, they're too far this way, they're crooked, you do those things. Talk to the guy. Talk to him about it. Okay? There was a paint shop up in Indiana that painted new RVs, stripes and what have you. And in between time, they started painting GMCs. And they actually did enough of them to get halfway decent at it. But one of the things that they told the customer, if you can pull the bumpers off and pull all the stuff apart, when you get it here, take all the rest of the junk off, where all we need to do is paint it. See, that guy was smart because what he was doing is using fill-in work, but it took the same processes, kept their guys busy, kept them, and then when the RVs came in, boom, they could run right in there. He was a smart guy. Were the paint jobs unbelievably awesome? They were decent. They weren't bad. Okay? Especially if you drove it to him and let him paint it, and you took it out and you trimmed it out. You finished it off. That worked out very, very well. Okay? That's the way I feel that you can paint your two elephants and come up with a good job, because I said this before in other videos. Henry Ford's first car had bicycle tires, but he learned right away that he needed more traction. But you only have one motorhome. You can't do something the best you think it can be done and be halfway decent, but then from there you say, wow, you need to assume that there, as you do the work, that you're going to find something that would either be better to do it another way or whatever. So after you get good at it and you do several of them, there'll be less and less of those. And that's the finish that actually I think you want. You don't want the first blush. Right? That's a place that I feel that I can help you guys because I've been through all of that stuff. Like I wouldn't paint today. I wouldn't put filler on today. You could sand. You could R&R, take things off, put them in. So the painters in Florida under 65 degrees are not dead, but they have to shift what they're doing to what the temperatures will allow them to do. Make sense? All right, the intent here was to give you some knowledge to find someone in your area. Reason is that if there's a problem, he knows you live in the area. You'll be right there. You'll take it back. You'll be there step by step to help him do a good job. That's a very, very powerful thing. Okay, I mean, if someone feels like that, you just thrown them the job, and it's up to them, to their interpretation of what quality is. Well, that may or may not be a good thing. Okay. It might be that they just need guidance as to, what would be the best way to do it. How how would you like that? Would you like from column A or column B? And if you're close by, so my suggestion to you is to find a painter close by that is a quality painter, but knows how to paint big stuff. Okay? And that's a unique thing. And if you do find that, or if you'd like to talk more about that kind of stuff as to what they're looking for, give me a call. And I'd be happy to talk to your painter and see if he's aware of what he would need to do. And I can be in your loop to answer questions as you run into them and stuff like that. That's one of the things that we found at Motorhome Rehab Ranch that I could do for ranch hands, is to be with you as you get your coach worked on. And I've worked with several of you, and I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun. I've done it before, and I can do it again, and I enjoy it. All right. So look, thanks a lot. Hit like, share, subscribe, and ranch hands, thank you very much. If you're interested to be a ranch hand, go back over to Patreon, patreon.com, and then put in Motorhome Rehab Ranch and search for a creator, and the site will come up, and then they've got a tutorial. They'll go right into how to be a ranch hand, and I appreciate the support. All right. Thanks a lot for your time, and we'll see you next time.